Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt, man!
All right, episode 76 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Stan from T-Shirt Side Hustle in Delaware. Let's go!
Hey there, Daddy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't know why, but my voice is a little bit lower today.
Did your balls finally drop?
No.
I was gonna say it's been a long time.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, doctors say any day. Check.
I hope your balls drop. I like you.
Wow. So you're camo up top and camo down low. No, camel.
Camel?
I almost said camel.
I'm camel down low, camo up top.
Okay.
I actually have.
Nice.
I'm actually dressed like a giant piece of shit today. Let me see if I can show you.
Are you going
Okay,
hunting?
No, look. Can you see? Oh fuck!
Are you trying to show me your
camo
balls?
shorts?
Oh.
Yeah. Do you want to see my balls? I have camo sweat shorts on, and my loafers on, and this is just my Sunday outfit, man.
I think you look great.
Thanks.
I can hardly see you though, because you're just blend in. But
It's just like a hovering face.
right. So Dilly.
Hey.
How was your week?
Well, it was good. We got a bunch of stuff done. We had to have a meeting to talk about pretty much everybody and their brother that's trying to get an order in right now wants it before Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we have to turn so many people away. And yeah, we worked all day yesterday. So a good Saturday work. Yeah, that's about it.
Sounds like you worked all week and then worked part of the weekend. What about today?
It was nice today because I got home last night, got food, laid in bed, watched TV, went to bed pretty early. And then today I slept in and I just sat in my office at home and loafed around all day. I had a Baron right before I came here. So
Yeah. As a snack or dinner?
dinner.
Okay.
I mean, first dinner. Like I'll probably have dinner again. when I get
Right.
home. Like I'm not savage.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. How did my week go, you ask? Oh, no, you didn't ask that. But I'll tell you.
Okay, cool.
I moved more boxes.
What do you mean?
It seems like that's what I do a lot of. So I move boxes and
You're just the box mover guy?
I'm the box mover guy. And you know what? It occurred to me that we've grown to the point where that's like a position. Like we need to hire somebody, a box mover guy or girl.
Which is funny because we kind of did the exact same thing.
I know we're twins. I know we are. We live parallel lives.
Mm-hmm. Continue with your story.
From birth, we live parallel lives, except my balls haven't dropped.
It's
You would
like
think
twins. Like you're Danny DeVito and I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Exactly like that. So what happens is, you print an order and let's say there's 20 boxes in it. And for us right now, a lot of things can happen to it. One, it could ship and that goes to a certain dock. It could courier and that goes to a different dock. The customer could pick it up and that doesn't even go to a dock. Usually it'll go to a door. And so it seems like what we're doing is instead of like, we got 20 boxes. How do we move them? It's going to take forever. So we put them on pallets, everything kind of goes on pallets. I've got a ton of pallets here and we're pallet jacking orders all around the shop. And not only like for pickup, but when they come in, you know what I mean? Where is it printing? Is it printing down on the Cobra? Is it printing over on the 8-color? And so it's just moving boxes and that's what we're doing all the time. And I've got 2 check-in stations because station number 1 is just way too fucking crowded. And so we created a whole nother one.
Are you guys staging a lot of stuff yet, or just more moving pallets to the press?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's staging still. Yeah, I mean, we're staging stuff, but we just ran out of room for that. Even staging, because everything was.
That's my problem, is I don't have any room for it.
Right. So I want to do what you're doing, and that is like a container or a box truck, or even just a trailer. It doesn't have to be a box truck. It could just just be a trailer sitting at the dock. And I think that's probably the solution, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the biggest thing I've heard about that though is just make sure like you're not keeping them in there too long, or you have a dehumidifier or something so they don't like get moldy.
Right. In the summer, you're saying. So, I mean, I can't imagine. It's not like it's okay. So we wouldn't use that for storage. It would just be, they're here.
Right, they wouldn't be in there very long.
10 days.
It's just, yeah, exactly. That's why I said like the most anything's going to be in there is like a week or two, maybe.
Mm.
But I just don't want them in there like when it's spraying and it's like moist and shit.
Moist.
Mm-hmm.
With all the mouses.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, moths. We had Megan, who's worked here for a couple of years now. She's always been my fulfillment, quality control kind of person.
Okay.
Into the dryer, and she came to me and was like, "Yeah, I'm super interested in like print. Like, I know you're not necessarily hiring for that position right now, but like I would love to learn to print more and like get on press and everything else." So the other day I was out there doing something. I think I was helping on press, and I was just looking at Megan, and I was just sitting there thinking while I was pulling shirts off, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna say fuck it and like give her a shot now. So I pulled her in the office. Well, the best part is I knew this was going to happen because I try to do this as much as possible just to fuck with people, is say like, come see me at the end of the day. That way they fucking stew on it like all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want to tell you this thing. I really got to tell you this thing. Oh, never mind. I'll tell you about it later or whatever. And then like make people wait so they can fucking contemplate life for a while. So then I told Megan, I was like, come see me before the end of the day. I think like 5 minutes later, she was at my door at my office, and she was like, what do you need? Am I in trouble? And I was like, no, sit down. So I told her, I was like, hey, I don't really need another person on press right now, but what I really need is someone to stage the next job for both presses, clean squeegees and flood bars, and just prep everything to where when they're done with a job, they can grab all the stuff for the next job and just keep going. Like no more downtime or scraping screens or cleaning the squeegees and flood bars, anything like that. Just like tear it down, give it to you, set up the next one and go. So she did that all week this week, and it was like huge difference. It was night and day.
So basically the shirt Kong way.
Cool. Shirt Kong way. Yeah.
Yeah. Finally.
Yeah. So like I said, as far as staging jobs on press, she's more has to stage the next job because we don't have room for like 5 carts to be pre-staged and waiting.
Why not?
I just don't have space. Like I literally don't have a place to put them that they wouldn't be in the way.
Because that's really great to have. I mean, 5 carts. I mean, if you have 2 presses going, each press, 2 carts, and then the spare, I mean, you've got to have that. Got to have that much space. Yeah.
No.
Knock down something. Knock down.
What?
Your office, I think. You should probably just
stage shit in my office.
Right. See, I solved the problem, right?
Cool. Then they got to walk all the way to my office to get the carts.
Guess what I made?
A baby?
I did that a long time ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It didn't take very long.
I guess right.
But I made chili. And
Sunday chili?
Sunday chili. Right now, it is at home on the stove, marinating.
Simmering.
Yeah, it is not on, it's just there. I turned it off before I came here.
You didn't leave it on simmer?
No.
Just straight up off.
Off. Covered. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you eat chili, do you like get like bread and butter and like dip it in the chili juice before you eat the actual chili?
Sometimes. So there's lots of ways to do it, right? Yeah, that's a good way. Sometimes.
See, my problem is that I end up eating like half a loaf of bread before I even eat the chili because I just like am dipping and getting all of the juice out to where it's just like a bowl of the shit that's in it. Like
that is
no
good.
Juice left.
It is delicious. But sometimes crackers work, and then other times noodles, like that's usually like day
Who
3.
the fuck puts noodles in chili?
Dude, noodles is the same thing as bread. It's the same
No.
thing. Yeah, don't give me no shit. Yeah, it is.
No.
It's actually could be better. Chili mac. You never heard of that? Get the fuck out of here. All right, next.
Don't change the subject to your gross ass fucking food.
You don't know chili 5-way, for example?
That sounds like a sexual position.
You need to get out more.
I'm pretty out, and
you can put it over mac.
okay.
Okay. Little sour cream.
On a boiled
cheese.
hot dog, maybe.
Of course,
Not on
boiled hot
macaroni.
dog, obviously.
Yeah.
But my chili at home today is white bean chili.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The first chili of the year I made just normal, crushed tomatoes, that stuff. Today is not that. It's the recipe that you put a container of chicken stock. Is that what they call it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I've never made chili, so.
And then a whole block of cream cheese. Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to give you the recipe.
Are you bringing some to when you see me tomorrow?
I can. Yeah.
I love that we're going to see each other tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't know if it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Monday.
It is, but I'm not invited to tomorrow's thing.
Are you
tomorrow?
you just driving early Tuesday morning?
Tomorrow you have meetings about stuff. And that's your meetings about stuff. And then Tuesday, there's other meetings about stuff, which I think we're going to kind of meet up and collab on. And then Wednesday, there's meetings about stuff that you're not going to, unless you want to. I'd like you to come along.
I don't want to. I don't want to be a part of that.
Please come.
Nope. I am so far away. I'm going further north if possible.
Yeah. Well, if you were a true friend, you would definitely come along to that.
I would be there in a heartbeat if you really asked me. If you genuinely needed me there, I would be there.
I think I do, just for the support. And also you could just be and say things for me.
So do all the work while you're in the background?
Right. Yeah. I like it.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will bring you chili then. Okay. I've got something for you. Okay. Every morning I announce loudly to my family that I'm going jogging, but then I don't go. It's a running joke.
You can't use this on me. You already told it to me earlier.
I told this to you earlier, but you got to pretend because you're really good at faking it.
No.
That it's funny. Next joke comes to us from Scotty over at King Screen.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Dilly.
Hey, bud.
Don't look down. Here, I got a joke for you. Ready? Dilly, did you hear about the screen printer that almost died from pushing a squeegee?
No, tell me more.
Luckily, he pulled through. And not Alex, Matt said that's the best screen printing joke he's ever heard. Thank you for this.
Yeah, because it proves that pulling is better than pushing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Did Scott, you think he made that up? It's a good one.
I hope so. He seems like he would.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He seems like he's got that in him to have that creativity, He's a joker. He probably should be quit screen printing and become a writer. Yeah, both of those guys.
Him and Nate should have a road show where they just tell nothing but dad jokes back and forth.
Yeah, and that's it. That's their thing. Like that's their gimmick.
We should just have them on the show and make little clips. This is the Scott and Nate part of the show.
Just the whole show's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, remember how we were talking last week about how we didn't want to have to do this, but we mentioned that we should say it on the show, that if people could like and subscribe and share and thumbs up our stuff so that more printers can see our stuff than already do. Because we hate asking for shit. Remember that?
I do remember that.
Mm.
Yeah. Like if you were to,
like if you're listening to us right now, if you could just do us a quick little fave and repost it on Instagram or give us a thumbs up or a like or whatever the fuck you are supposed to do for that kind of stuff.
Give us a 1-star review.
Yes. Tell us how fucking ugly we are.
Oh, what it is you put a thumbs up. Thumbs up on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, you just click that button. The thumbs up button. I love how when
we get a thumbs down every time.
I was going to say something else. I loved how when we were in that text yesterday and Marcotte came on and said, "Hey, this is Matt Marcotte." He got thumbs down. A bunch of thumbs down. I don't hardly ever use the thumbs down, but man, that was a good one.
It's a good time to do it.
It's a good time to do it for sure.
Ready? Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Dilly, it all starts with the screen.
It does.
Whether it's new stretches or re-stretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF,
rank.com,
or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
Yeah, fucking, not fucking.
Yeah, fucking.
Don't make the mistake of putting a G in there.
Yeah, you'll go to a totally different website if you put that G in there.
That's right. Dilly, nobody likes cleaning screens, but Easy Way makes it easier. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will help you keep your screens and your shop clean.
Mm-hmm.
I kept it together until you laughed like the third time.
Mm-hmm.
Check them out at easyway.com. Easy Way.
It's the easiest way. You're so fucking good at this. I love watching you do it.
Yeah, well, I don't.
I do.
Action Engineering makes accessories printers need.
True.
They have all kinds of, what's that? I'm sorry?
True. That's true. Hey, that's true.
Okay. They have all types of rad stuff on their website.
Mm-hmm.
Action Engineering.
Action injury.
Actionengineering.com.
Mm-hmm.
And be sure to use Shirt Show at checkout. Monarch makes ink, including an everyday white, a matte black, and a high opacity mixing system that gets you colors fast.
No way. Is that true?
It's true. Learn more at
melatonin.com.
It's a long word.
Where do we learn it more at?
You learn more at monarchcolor.com. Ink better, print better, be better. Live
Moss.
Monarch. Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think we did it.
how you feeling, man? You good?
I don't know. We just butchered every fucking one of those. But okay. Well,
hey, that's cool. Sunday.
Yeah. It's not, like one day, like we'll get it. Like
It's
one
lame.
day.
It's lame if we're just going to read through these. I want to put some heart and soul into them.
It's true. It's true.
Because I truly care for each and every one of them.
I want people to understand my words, though, that are coming out of my mouth.
I think everyone understood you. Frank has the best fucking screens there are. Buy them. Don't be a moron.
Mm-hmm.
Easy Way has the best spring printing chemicals.
See, now you know.
Because I'm thinking about you and it fucks up my words. Screen printing chemicals.
Right.
Monarch has the best ink I've ever used when it comes to plastisol. Truth. And Action Engineering has the best fucking printer accessories you can buy. So that's why we support and they support us, is because it's the best shit.
1,000%.
So that's it. That's all we got to say.
That's all we got to say.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Tell us about who's on today.
Should we stretch? Oh, yeah.
I do need to stretch though, for real. Oh yeah. I felt my ribs pop.
Mm-hmm.
Show me that tongue, boy.
No.
Come on.
If you wouldn't have asked, I would have done it.
Pull it out. Let me see it.
Our guest today.
I want to see it.
Dilly, our guest today is Stan Banks from T-Shirt Side Hustle in Delaware. And do you know why I'm stoked to chat with him? Because not only does he know a ton about Supacolor, he's also super inspirational.
God damn, dude.
You like it?
Oh,
dude, that is solid. That is solid. Solid gold
that come out of your fucking mouth make my skin crawl.
That is solid gold. Okay.
I feel like I'm with my like creepy uncle at the grocery store when I hear you speak sometimes.
That's so nice of you to say. It makes me feel good. That's my goal. I'm trying to create awkward situations. Yeah. Let's just say it and then sit in it and let it happen. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying there? Yeah. I knew you were gonna like that.
You guessed correctly.
I was like, oh man, Dylan's gonna love this one here. I've been waiting.
I've been fucking holding on to that shit all day.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going?
What's happening?
Not much. So I'm moving into a new house. So that's why I'm sitting in the kitchen right now. Like it's no good light nowhere. I planned on taking this at the shop.
It's all right. It's cool. So do you do any work on the weekends or why are you moving into a new house? Just a new place?
Yeah, this is a new place, bigger house for the kids. It has some space. I got to build out the studio and the basement and different things like that. Just time, man. It was just time to get out of the small place and get some more room to run around and different things like that for the kids.
So you're planning on putting your shop space in the basement of that house, or
no? Just the recording studio. So just a studio. So if I do stuff like this and I'm not at the store and different things like that, it'll all be in one place. I can get some work done out of here when I'm home. But the shop stay there.
Where is the shop from you now?
About 15-minute drive. So in the city of Wilmington, where I'm from, Delaware.
Nice.
So what all do you do at the shop? Is it like a retail location where you sell out of, or is it production only? Tell us about what you got going on.
So right now I'm in the transition. So I have two sides rather. So it's both set up for retail, but I built out a custom T-shirt bar inside of there. So in my area, a lot of one-offs and different things like that kind of like spark your business. So, if something happens, somebody comes in, they want a rest in peace shirt, they want shirts for their birthdays or different things like that. So that was like a huge staple of how I got started when I started, making shirts. So I built out a retail location with a movable bar, kind of like a T-shirt bar, of course, heat pressing, custom vinyl stuff. I do a lot of transfer stuff. I kind of got away from screen printing, although I still have access to the screen printing shop. When I got larger orders, different things like that, I usually just outsource it to the printer that is in that shop just to save my time. My time has become more valuable than actually printing and pulling the squeegee, trying to focus on some other things.
So you said you're trying to transition mostly to transfers. Why did you make that decision? What's the factors behind that, I guess?
So I think, for me, I was never trying to become a T-shirt printer. I was just an entrepreneur, right? So what actually got me started making shirts was my photography business. And as I was doing that photography business, I was just trying to promote my business at the time, which I started wearing my own shirt, my own logo and different things like that, which kind of led me into printing for other people. And I had a Ryanette DIY starter kit at my mom's house, mounted it to the dryer, going through had the floodlights, having a horrible time burning screens. But I kind of just, as I was researching, doing different things, it seemed like that was the best way to go. And it became a time consumer for myself, of a sort. Like once I walked into a guy who was my mentor, I ended up sharing the shop with up until recently. I walked into his store. He used to be a substitute teacher of mine. And he's like, hey, you want to print? So then from that point, I started seriously printing. And that was around 2011. I started to take T-shirts serious. And throughout that journey, I think in 2015, I got my first vinyl cutter because I was doing straight out of Compton stuff. straight out of this school, straight out of that school. I was on, man, crazy amounts of like historically Black colleges. And throughout that journey, like some small schools, hey, can you do my school? Can you do my school? I'm like, well, I'm not burning the screen printing a shirt. I was like, so first my pitch was, hey, listen, if you guys go and you'll get 12 friends to buy the shirt, I'll put up a pre-order. And if it hits it, I'll just send you one for free. So it kind of worked for a few schools, but it didn't work for all the schools. It's more so like, if you're lucky enough that person is kind of popular and different things like that, because my third biggest school was Clark Atlanta, and I had never been to Clark Atlanta ever, but I knew somebody who went there. So it kind of worked at some schools, it kind of didn't. So now I had orders. It's like, well, it's 3 or 4. What am I going to do? So I ran up to Philadelphia to All-American and got a Cameo. I bought some vinyl from them, and I started printing shirts with the vinyl cutter. And then I thought about it, was like, well, man, why didn't I start like this? Why didn't I start with the vinyl cutter and the heat press? I didn't really know anything about screen printing when I kind of got started. I just wanted what I wanted on the shirt. And at the end of the day, so it kind of led me to that point where it was like, my thought process was like, man, I should have started like this. And that's kind of where my YouTube channel came from. Like, all of the lessons that I learned the hard way, not to say anybody shouldn't get in screen printing, but, some people, heat transfers and vinyl will be a better start. And then they can figure out kind of, hey, do I want to go deep into a screen print shop like you guys are? Do I want to stay here? You kind of find your lane of a sort.
Yeah, for sure. Now you said for the schools you were doing the straight out of stuff. Was that when that was like huge and everyone was doing straight out of something?
I would like to say I was the first one to think of it, right? But nobody ever knows. But when I say, I think I went to like the first time I went to the post office, my bill was like $7.50 off of $3 first class packages. It was like, someone was like $2.56 at the time, someone was $3.25. But I had took them to a smaller town because, at the time, my girlfriend, I was printing and she was writing the names on the packages. They was coming out the dryer. She was like, print this size. And it was just like printing. And I kind of got burnt out. But we went to a small town post office and they ended up was like, well, you guys can't come back. Like we broke the system for a minute. We had to split up our transactions so other people could come in. And then the next time
your
I
post
showed
office,
up,
Dylan.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is like, I don't blame them. Like exactly what he's saying. If you showed up with $700 worth of first class packages, that person's going to get pissed because it's like, that's a lot of packages. Like you should have some kind of system like a ship station or something like that to get them ready at home and then drop them off. And all they have to do is scan the one sheet of paper that has every label on it.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what happened to me. Like the next time I went back, they like, y'all can't come in here. I'm like, no. I had got the Dymo, I had got stamps.com because I didn't know at the given moment and I didn't know how big it was going to be. And it was like, I got behind so fast because it just caught like wildfires through those schools and different things like that. So I kind of like targeted what I was doing. I was printing churches and different things like that as well. But I was really targeted on the Black colleges because I had went to one. My girlfriend at the time had went to a different one. So we started there and then we kind of expanded out.
Now, have you gone into any other like a design like that? Kind of like the straight out of one blew up, but there's been a ton in like my career of seeing things like there was for a while, everything was that keep calm design and everybody just changed it to something else that had to do. Do you do anything like that where you come up with a design and then market it to a ton of different people?
So I tried to after that. So before that, I was against trends, right? Keep in mind, I was doing like the clothing brand type of stuff. I wasn't really trying to be a printer, even though I had like some clients, but I wasn't trying to market it that way of a sort. They just happened to come, right? So as I kind of got started, I didn't want trends. Like I wanted to build a clothing brand that's going to stand on its own. And I didn't want to chase the trends because after the trends die, you kind of left with nothing of a sort, right? So this was kind of the college thing was something that I had in my mind for like 2 years. I had the domain. I had everything that I wanted. I just didn't properly figure out how to launch it in a way with the designs that I wanted to. I don't know if you guys heard of Campus Tees, which is like a brand for colleges, but they do logo flips on like the logos, like drunken mascots. And that's what I kind of wanted to do for historically Black colleges, but it wasn't received the same way that it was received for these other schools, which was kind of challenging for myself. So when I shelved that idea and I was just waiting around, I turned it on and it was just an ecosystem ready to roll. And then after that, I was like, man, I should have did this a long time ago, right? Like I should have been chasing all these trends that were happening to keep comms. I did do Powerades, just a kid from, I don't know if you guys seen that one. Powerade did that with the Olympics, I think 1 year. I had some of that stuff. So now I'm more aware. I've done some other ones and I just apply. What I like to do is apply those designs to niches. So if I take those popular designs and I apply them to the niche, I feel like it's very, very successful. And in that ecosystem that you build, those social media followers and all of that stuff that you build is already there. So once you drop a new design, it's already being consumed very fast.
Yeah. And the nice part is too, is if you're doing the heat press or the vinyl or whatever you're doing, you have the ability to customize a ton of stuff. So if like you open a store and all they have to do is put in what they want at the bottom, like, you know, you have that trend and then whatever else it's going to be, can they just put that in and you're just like, all right, I need to make one that says Samantha and one that says this school or one that says this, and you just can crank out those out? Or are you trying to do?
I built that into a Joomla website where you could have, like, it was like a little text box. You couldn't see it on the screen. It was not that far advanced. Like you could just type it in to see it. But it said, you know, straight out of, then it had question marks and it said custom t-shirt. And down there you would put, you know, whatever name or whatever thing that you wanted it to be. And definitely that was something that I capitalized off of at that time.
So what platform are you building these stores on? Is it your website or are you, and how are you marketing and promoting it? Are you putting it out on Facebook and boosting it and so it gets seen that way? Or like, how do you go about doing that?
I've ran one ad and it was horribly unsuccessful. I think it had got like 2 views or something. I tried to geographically target to one of these colleges and whatever I put in didn't work at all. So how I marketed it was, first and foremost, I was at one school, my girlfriend was at another one. I had got put out of a different school. So I had 3 schools already in my ecosystem where I knew people were at. So I kind of went the organic route. And then I just started to phone friends, like the school I'm talking about, Clark, Atlanta. One of my classmates from high school, she went there. She was on a dance team and different things like that. I said, listen, I'm going to send you a shirt. You wear it, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of like, I just went in and started to push. And then once I got those 3 things together, people started wearing, people started tagging them. It just became like, hey, can you do my school? Can I, you know, so I started to just catch like that more so than anything specific that I did. It was just literally wearing it, posting it, sharing it. I did set up at football games at these 2 schools that was close to me and sold at those games. So those were the things that I was doing for that niche market, you know, and then interacting on hashtags and stuff like that. Stuff that's overlooked right now, right? We're talking about 2015 hashtagging and comment and all of this stuff. People really don't want to go this route because it's not like the overnight type of success. It's more like the grassroots marketing is similar to something out of the trunk, but the social media way you can do it just a few extra minutes a day, right? So, you know, going in on hashtags, somebody's hashtagging a school, you go into that school, you comment, say that's pretty dope. You know, taking that little slow approach to kind of like getting people to interested in what you got going on. Man, it became overwhelming. I think after it finished, kind of a story. I don't even think it finished. I think it finished me. I disappeared for like 3 months, you know. So this was, I want to say August, September, October. That it was really, really heavy throughout that first homecoming. It was like the start of the summer, going back to school into football homecoming seasons. I was so burnt out after that, man. I disappeared for like February. It was like, no more money. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm tired of printing. I'm tired of everything. And it kind of like dwindled down and through that period. But I was doing a lot of stuff at that time.
I feel you because we have been going nonstop since about what you're saying, since like August. And I want some downtime. Like at the end of this, whenever we're done, because it's still going right now. It's still strong. But when it starts to taper off, maybe Christmas or right before, I would love 3 months. I'm going to go for 1 month. I mean, I'm going to try. I'm going to try and do January, like the entire month of January. Or you know, like we want to go to the desert and then go to ISS Long Beach, which I think is like the 20 something.
20 and then 1st, 22nd, 23rd.
Okay, so then whenever that's over, then I fly home. Otherwise, the whole month. Dylan, you down?
Time, man. Well, you guys got. So you got to think at this given moment for myself, it was just me. right? Like it was just me. I had kind of taught my girlfriend at the time how to run social media and how to interact on this stuff because I was still printing. I was coaching football. I was printing. It was a ton of work and it was literally just me. And honestly, I was printing for my business and my partner's business at the time, which we had two separate businesses. We shared the shop, right? So I was printing at this point, we had no help, right? There was nobody reclaiming screens. So we would just order screens in every day. The aisle became like, you can walk through this amount, it's screens everywhere. And it just became about like, it's way cheaper, way faster because we couldn't get anybody consistently, screen washing and reclaiming and all that stuff.
For every job you were ordering a new screen?
100% at this given moment. I mean, if I showed you guys like a picture from like that shop, it was literally like, maybe 18 inches of walk room in some of these areas that you could get through because there were screens under the dryer on, just stacked up on the wall, coming out into the floor. And it got bad for a good period of time there.
It's a good way to do it.
I love how the name Side Hustle turned into like Full Hustle, because at what point did that happen? How far in did it turn in from a side hustle to like a full-time all-in job?
So it was kind of the opposite for me, right? So the name came because I couldn't get T-shirt hustle. And I loved the name so much. So when I started my YouTube channel, it was something completely different. Like I had never had a job my entire life until I was 27 or something like that. And so before then, so I'm explaining where the channel came from and how this whole thing came about. So before then, I was just doing these different businesses and moving throughout. And I started to take T-shirts serious in 2011 because it just seemed to make me more money, more consistent, less marketing. It was just business rolling in versus photography for myself where I couldn't sell it for what I thought it was worth. And from the people, for the price that the people who taught me, they're getting like $5,000 a wedding, $900 a baby session, doing like 3 or 4 only Thursday and Friday or Saturday at the weekend. And they were making a lot of money. And here I would come back into the city and I couldn't get $150 without like pulling teeth. So the business became like, all right, let me just look at everything that I'm doing and clear my plate and just focus on one thing. So once I started to focus in on T-shirts, that was all I was doing. And I needed to get health insurance. And, I'm pretty sure you guys know when you start to turn your business into a legit business and start doing certain things, it becomes like a challenge after a challenge, like workers' comp, trying to get health insurance and figuring out how are you going to afford it. And, when you just, everything's already robbing Peter to pay Paul before you can actually gain some traction.
Yeah.
So I kind of got a job just to get the insurance. I was making $10 an hour doing security. But what I realized once I started working was that it gave me time to calm down. It really gave me time to focus my energy. And I wasn't just sitting around the shop all day and then printing at night. I was actually, when I left the work, because I was there on the computer and organized and everything was ordered, everything was focused. So I looked at my first couple of checks and I'm like, man, if I was really like, if this was all I was doing, I make more than this printing T-shirts. But if this was all I was doing, how could I survive? Let alone with the kid, how could you survive off of $10 an hour by yourself? So that got me thinking like, man, I could show somebody how to make $3, $4, $5, $1,000 a month just to make life hit them a little bit easier.
So you decided to do that with the YouTube channel, is to kind of show your way?
Yep. That's where the YouTube channel came from, because I believe firmly that, people shouldn't have part-time jobs. You should have a hustle, right? You should have some type of side hustle, just because part-time jobs, you're always capped on your hours, right? How much can you make an hour? $15 an hour, $20, whatever it may be, you're capped because you already work a full-time job. And then you got maybe 3 or 4 extra hours a day that you might go work. And then when you have time for yourself, you got to sleep this amount of hours. You got to commute. All of your hours began to get ate up if you really look at the time. And you always had a set amount of money that you could make. On the other hand, if you had a side hustle, you can pull a squeegee for an hour and make $250, $500 depending on the type of job. You're printing a one color print on a T-shirt and you do a bunch of those in an hour, or you can print a one color print on a polyester sports tech for school and charge $15 for the same amount of work and still, pull in a lot of money. So that's kind of where the whole concept came from. I just wanted to show somebody how to make some extra money. And that's where T-shirt side hustle actually came from.
Now, how was that going? This is kind of a side thing, but just like YouTube in general, like, were you just making videos, putting them out and hoping people would gravitate toward it? Or did it catch on pretty early on and you just like stayed consistent with it?
I just was consistent. You know, I didn't get on YouTube to make money. I really got on to help people. So I didn't make any money for the first 2 years. And then the third year was maybe like $700 at the end of the year. I hadn't even turned on monetization, right? So in the first 30 days, I put out 150 videos on my YouTube channel. And it was
30 days?
In 30 days. It was literally just whatever I was doing at the time. I was doing a custom shirt. I was going over to screen printing. I was doing another custom. I was just showing everything that I was doing.
You were just documenting what you were doing.
Yep.
Basically, literally. You weren't writing scripts and taking all this time. You were just turning on, I don't know what camera, phone or a camera. iPhone, recording what you were doing and then putting it on YouTube. Yeah. I mean, makes sense. I really like that. I think what you said is so true. Like when people, if they're committed to whatever that is, their full-time 40 hours, let's say, and then that's not enough. And then they have to get a part-time job. There's somebody here that does that. They do it because they like it. They work at GameStop and they like the GameStop vibe, I think. But he also has started his own t-shirt side hustle, basically. And I see him kind of moving away from that GameStop hours and going into this thing he started. And I saw this post. It was from my cousin, and he had put up a book he's reading, which might even be a good book for our book club, the next book. And that is, it's called 4,000 Weeks. So 4,000 weeks is how many weeks the average person lives. That's like 80 years. And it talks about how we are here shorter than you think. And it talks about how we put off doing things that we want to do, or starting a t-shirt side hustle, let's say, or whatever side hustle it is that you want to do. But we put that off thinking, oh, we're going to do that one day because we've got all this on our plate and we're going to put that off and eventually get to it. But unless you just do it and you make that time now, you're going to run out of hours and actually, I guess, weeks.
Weeks. Yeah, that's true, man. And I think this whole thing took off for me really in 2020, right? Like right at the beginning of the pandemic. That's when I met Supercolor and I started doing a lot more different projects and different things like that. I had gained some traction before, but it really took off during the pandemic. I guess a lot more people at home, searching for things to do. So it kind of like took off for everybody at this given moment. But when I went to LA for the Long Beach show at the time, literally, I got picked up by one of the subscribers and he kept telling me, you deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it. And I didn't really understand what he was talking about, right? And I look back and I say, I didn't really enjoy anything that I was doing because my head was always deep in work. It's just like even the time I spent with my kids, they were at the shop, they were there, but I wasn't really present, right? And you got to do certain things, it's either you have a time and you don't have money, you got money, you don't got time. It's trying to find that balance. And so what you're talking about is true. Like, never taking the time out for yourself to do things that you want to do. It really becomes one of those things where it's like you just running in the wheel, right? Just going and going and going. And then you look up and you look back and it's nothing. You haven't really done anything that you wanted to do. I worked at that old folks home and I used to ask a lot of them from Gary Vee is like, sit with the old people. So I had a perfect opportunity to ask them what they regretted, right? Like, and what would they have done differently?
So you were working in an old folks home, just going room to room, asking them what they didn't get done in life?
Nah. So honestly, kind of, because
there it is.
Sure, I gravitated towards some of them. Some of them gravitated towards me. They would like ask me to help carry stuff. And I would just find time to talk to them. They would feed me like crazy. I would go back to work there just for the food right now. Just imagine having like 15 grandmamas and they all can cook, right? They all give me who's cooking this weekend. It just doesn't matter. But and when you start to figure out some of the things that you want to do, and making sure that what you guys are working for, like you're taking the time out to go to the desert with your family, right? And some of my YouTube content has shifted because it's really not about t-shirts for me. It's more so about life and the hustle. And I might go do something else. That doesn't mean I just have to be stuck printing t-shirts. but I want to make sure at this given moment that I'm enjoying it and people are taking out. Even if it's like, hey, I need to go buy this fabulous, I don't know, this token toy or action figure that I always wanted, just to experience getting something that you want. I feel like that gratification that you give yourself will make you go do more or work harder and go get another one. Now you got to recalibrate, move the goalpost of a say and go get that.
But the t-shirts for you is the way to do that. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't have, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, go do what you want to do, go do what you want to do. And then they give up on everything else. And then they're fucked because they have no money and they have nothing to come back to. They're like, oh, cool. I went on a road trip. I spent everything I had and now I don't have anything left. And it's like, I just feel like it's a moderation. Like I feel like me, you and Andy all have the respect and the love for making t-shirts and making this stuff because we love the art and we love the craft of it. But then getting really good at that and getting a good customer base gives us the money to do the things that we want to do. So like Andy wants to go play around in the desert and he can do that because he put the time in and has the money to go do that. And it's the same with, me. I don't really do a lot of that stuff, but me with here in my shop, it's kind of like I'm putting money into the shop because this is the place that I like to spend most of my time at. So I'm kind of the opposite. Like I'm trying to spend more money on the shop so that I can spend more time here instead of somewhere else.
So when you get to your ideal point, then what, right? Like what I think where I go with it in my mind is that like, this was always a mean to it. And one entrepreneurial journey led me into the next, right?
Right.
And I never imagined YouTube blowing up and me doing some of the stuff that I'm doing right now. But I always see myself helping people, whether that was coaching football or doing different things like that. That is what I'm naturally gifted at, is just whatever I learn, I'm going to go give it back to other people. Right. So even what I do now is like, I try to connect other influencers, other people doing great things with opportunities. Right. And that's kind of like my way of giving back. So that's what's near and dear to me. But like, once you get your shop, like, I keep saying you can take this screen printing, you take this t-shirt business stuff as far as you want to go. I've been in shops with 13 autos. I've been in shops with, one manual in the house and this person is perfectly happy, right? But once it gets to that point, I put a lot of money into my store, then what? What do you go and do once you got it built up as far as you want to go, right? Because there's no limit to it at some point, but at some point it also stops, right? Like, cool.
Well, you get comfortable.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
that's where you're saying that the guy that has the manual in the basement that's totally happy, he's happy with taking 3-4 orders a week and getting enough money to just be able to hang out with his kids and go to the park and not have a 9-to-5 and have more time at home and everything else. And then the guy that has 15 autos is just loves the fact that he's growing his business and that's what he wants to do. Like his passion is growing a behemoth of a shop and just keep it going.
Yep.
See, I'm kind of in the middle of that where I just want to have a successful enough shop where I can live the life I want to live and also be passionate about what I'm doing. And I'm just going to ride this shit out as long as possible. Like that's my plan. Like my personal plan is to grow this to where the company basically runs itself. Yeah, I'd like to be here and do everything I can do to be with it. Like I'm not trying to work myself out of it, but like I like the idea of like tomorrow, like me and Andy are going to Nashville and it's like, I'm comfortable enough with work where I can just be like, hey, I look like I'm going to go to Nashville for 3 days. And the company still runs itself. Like everyone here does what they got to do and whatever. And then if anything comes up later that I want to do, like I'll go do it. And I have the money, I have the time, I can do whatever I want to do. So
you're going to Nashville though is not just all play, it's work too.
Yeah, but it's such a small part of it.
True. But, and it's also kind of like where you're at in your life. I mean, you're younger than me and I don't know what stage you are at in growing your business. It sounds like you're getting there. I mean, you were just talking about how you can't even fit more carts in your shop. And so it sounds like you're getting to, the spot where you're there. I mean, you're pretty close. And then it kind of comes down to just work-life balance and what your thoughts in where you want to be at your age changes. And in 10 years, it might be completely different. You know, you're like, oh, like this ran its course and now I want to go to the desert with Andy. So
it's true. I do want to go to the desert with Andy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the way I'm kind of living things right now is more of like that, like YOLO mentality of like, I'm just going to do what I'm doing. I'm going to take it day by day. And when opportunities show up, and it's something I want to do, I'll do it. I'm not saying right now that like in stone, this is what's happening. I'm just like, I'm comfortable and I'm happy and I love my life and I love the way things are going. I'm riding it out, man. Like, I don't know. Like, it's funny because my dad is not like a motivational speaker kind of guy. Like, he's super fun, whatever. But I remember specifically, like, it's burned into my mind. Like, we had a fire, like a bonfire at my dad's house once, and like everyone went to bed earlier. And the only people that stayed up around the fire were me and my dad. And it was probably like 2 a.m. And it's funny, we were cracking jokes and he was laughing at me. I was probably like 14, 15 years old or whatever. He just started looking around the yard for shit to burn. He was like, what can we burn? And like, keep going. And my sister had one of those little like Fisher Price, like picnic tables. And we were like, fuck it, let's burn it. So we like threw it on the fire, burn it. And we had to like sit super far back because it was so hot. And it was obviously horrible for the environment. But we're just sitting there talking. And it's like, I'm just having a great time with my dad, like just sitting there talking. And like, all of a sudden he gets real deep on me. And it was weird because it's not normally like something he talks about. But he was just like, he's like, you should just do whatever you want to do because you never know. Like, you might have this whole plan. And I think at the time for him, it was like he was talking about like eating healthy because he does not eat healthy at all. And he was like, why would I want to go to the gym and work out every day and like waste like half of my day doing this thing when tomorrow I could walk out in the street and get hit by a bus? And like, just him saying that like stuck with me of like, I should just do what I want now as much as I can because you never know. Like, I could fucking drop dead of a heart attack tomorrow. Or I could step out in front of a bus.
I literally have that same mentality, right? Like, it's the truth, right? As long as you are alive, it could always be worse, right? Like, the ultimate worst thing is you being dead, right? So you always can be in a worse situation. I kind of live like that. So my question to you is, do you have any goals? Have you set any goals? Like, what is your next target?
That's what I mean. I think with goals, for me, they're always small goals. They're always like, you know, what can I accomplish in like 2 or 3 days, or what can I accomplish next week? And that's why when people talk about my shop now, it's like, dude, I've been working on this shit daily, like 7 days a week for like 12, 13 years now. It's not like I walked into the shop in like a year and I'm like, all right, this is where I'm at.
You're an overnight success. It only took you 14 years to be an overnight
I'm just saying that, like, I look at things and I'm like, okay, cool. You know what would be nice in like a couple months is if we like redid the office, or it was like, oh, now we have space where we can get another auto. It's not like I'm sitting down, I'm like, in 5 years, I would like to have. That's why anytime anyone says like, what's your 5-year plan or your 10-year plan or all this other stuff, I'm like, I have no fucking idea. Because like, so many roadblocks and so many things are going to come at me where like that plan could go totally to shit like so fast. I do like achievable goals that are like quick.
I think for myself, I was kind of like the same before. Like, I was just running around. And I never, ever focused on doing anything. Right. And then once I focused on doing something, which happened to be at the beginning of 2020, I'm walking into 2020, like I'm going to go achieve this huge goal for myself. And then the pandemic hit, and to still hit that goal was like, whoa, let me take a step back here. Let me really focus. Because before then I had never set a goal. But then I think which similar to yourself is like, you always just do stuff that's in front of you, and then you might look to next week or maybe a month out. Like even right now, like somebody asked me to do something next month. I'm like, man, I can't think that far in advance. You know, I don't know where I'll be.
You can think of a goal. You can be like, oh, I'd like to do this in 5 years. But I have the mentality of like, yeah, that's cool. I'd like to get there. That'd be sweet. And I'll keep working to that goal. But if something happens and changes, I just want to easily be able to pivot to something else. I don't want like my soul to get crushed because my perfect straight line to this goal in 5 years didn't happen. Like, I'm always just like, yeah, that'd be cool. And I'll like keep doing things, but I'm totally fine if something changes.
I think I'm the same. I think that, I know that I was supposed to have a business plan before I started this place, because people say, where's your business plan? I'm like, I don't have one. I know that I was supposed to have goals every year still, but I've never set a goal. Like maybe, I think that maybe I've had like buying equipment and stuff like that. I was like, we need another press. And I don't really set a goal like I want to do it by this date, but I know in the back of my mind that
right, like you work toward it.
That we're hurting right now because we can't put enough shirts out, and we're going to need another press at some point. But when is that point? I'm not sure. But I think that I knew that I guess my goal in the back of my mind was that I wanted to be able to have a shop that provided for me and my family. And that was it. And I didn't know what that number was, but I knew that once I got there that it would feel right. And I did everything I could every day that I woke up and came into the shop to make that goal happen. Whether it was just taking care of this customer or taking care of that customer or helping a part of the team or building our team or buying the right equipment, all these things along the way, I knew were getting me to that same thing at the end, just being able to take care of my family. So
I think I used like my goal throughout this process or throughout this journey to kind of like put me back on track. Right. So like if my goal, just say my overall mission was to help people. Right. So as things started to go forward, and sometimes I would like find myself veering off of this path. Right. I'm veering off. And it may be, hey, man, you can have this store. You can have this supply store. You can jump into this or do that. All these opportunities that presented themselves to me, kind of like, I would be like, oh, yeah, let's do it. I will put it here. I would go through all this homework. And then I'd be like, wait, that is so far away from the path that I'm supposed to be on. It would like snap me out of it. Nah, I'm good off of that. I'll just keep going on this direction. But, I was a person that never set goals, I was just living day by day. And I think I got so far caught up in it that I never got to enjoy anything that I was doing. Right. It was always just like, do this, do this, do this, do this.
So you're saying for you, setting a goal worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, I wish I would have set goals earlier. And I'm literally saying this is 2020. Here I started printing t-shirts and like taking shirts serious in 2011. The YouTube channel came in 2017. Here's 2020. And I'm like, I'm going to set a goal now. And I had a goal of making $100,000 and actually seeing it, right? Like actually knowing that I made this amount of money because, when you're running and you're hustling and you're doing different things, it goes in, it goes out. You never actually get to see a tangible amount of money when you're investing back into a business, you're buying equipment. You never actually get to see it until you sit down at the end of the year and you look at your books and say, wait, I made how much money? Where did it all go? Right. We all have those experiences through the entrepreneurial journey, and it's about learning from them. But now it gave me something where it's like, man, if I set out a goal now, my next goal, let's say it's $500,000. Now I just wake up every day and like, man, before I go to bed, I'm asking myself, did I do something that's going to get me closer to my goal? Yes or no? And now I need to adjust myself moving forward. But I think like, I can't say setting goals is good or bad, right? But like, it's been a world of a difference because it's kept me laser focused on like, the things that I want to do now. And then, I think as an entrepreneur, like I said, church was just a means to an end for me. I never set out to just be a great printer or anything like that. It was always a means to an end. So I'm more so of a serial entrepreneur of a sort throughout this journey. And I'm not afraid. Tomorrow I may say, hey, I think I already outgrew my YouTube channel. I might say, hey, tomorrow, yeah, it's over for that. I might go do something completely different, right? But ultimately, the journey that I'm on is for me to help people through the things that I'm doing. Printing shirts is like riding a bike to me. It's like I could go in a screen print shop and start putting a squeegee anytime, right? And I tell people, you get a heat press, you keep it in the back of your closet. You might just walk into $500 just because your job needs some shirts for an event or something like that. You may just walk into your kids' school needing shirts. Just from having that heat press and being able to understand how to do it, you can literally walk into money. So these are just like all tools in my tool belt.
So walk us through what happened to you in 2020. Like, what was your goal and what was it that you got?
The goal was to make $100,000. Like it was like to actually see the fact that I made, like, I've had like back when I was doing a shut account that had $20,000 months in person and 10,000 online and just a lot of money that was going in and out, but I was never nowhere near responsible with the money that I was making because of the way I was moving and doing different things, right? My overhead was like next to none. So I would just go splurge out and go do different things and take care of everybody around me. And I invested a lot back into my old college as well as I was doing those things. But, as I looked for different opportunities, mass was one of those things that took off in 2020. So to be able to pull in revenue from masks and do different things like that, it all opened up and where I pretty much 2 times my goal at that given moment. I think 2.5 times the goal. And I actually was able to look at it and see just because, I was kind of more structured. I think that's one of the things that I would ask you guys is like, if you were starting over from scratch, what would you do? Right? I hear a lot of people talk about put systems in place. I didn't have a system. I was just running off the top of my mind and through email. But, some of those things. So as I set these goals, I didn't know how I was going to do it. Honestly, I didn't know what was going to happen. And
that's the thing is that you don't know what you don't know. And it's easy to ask that question to somebody who's in it and done it. And like they're at the point where they can look back and be like, how would I do this differently? But it's the same thing as like you as a dad, like you experience something, like, dude, this is not the fucking way to go about it. And you could tell your kid that and he's gonna be like, oh, okay, dad. And then he's going to fucking do that exact same thing that you told him not to do because he needs to experience it for himself. And that's the same thing with the business. Like right now, me and Andy can be like, oh, if we were to do this all over again, I would like sit at home in my underwear and I would contract to this person. I would do this with this thing, but you wouldn't know any of that until you got to where you are now, because you now have those connections and contacts and knowledge of like what's good and bad and how you can get away with that. So that's the hard thing, is someone that I guess you need to have that mentor who's like, you can trust, that's like been through that. That's just like, hey, here's this playbook. Like this will work if you actually do it.
So I hired a girl right in the beginning of, right before the pandemic. I hired my first person, right? A little part-time employee come in and I hired her. And then the second day after I hired her, I went to my mentor who shared a shop like, bro, why you didn't tell me that? I could have been making money and not slaving these hours over the heat press and doing all of these different jobs and stuff like that, stressing out. He was like, man, you wasn't ready. It's like, you wasn't ready for the lesson, in it. And you had to kind of like experience it before you can get to it of a sort.
Well, you wouldn't have appreciated it as much if you did that first thing. You know what I mean? You wouldn't know what to do and what to tell her and how to fix things with her and everything else. Like you wouldn't have known. It's like you need to experience that.
Sometimes what happens is this is where I'm saying the same thing about getting caught up in what you're doing, right? Like you get caught up in it and you don't realize that there's things that you should be looking to do of a sort. It's like, even like what the ladies were saying about the corporate world, right? It's like you get in the chase of the money and you start like, okay, cool. And you buy more things and now you need more money to afford your lifestyle. So it makes leaving it even harder. Like, maybe you're making $80, $90, $100,000 a year corporately, and then leaving it means you go back down to 60, but the 60 you making just looks a lot different, and then you're able to build it up over time. But it's the same thing in your business. A lot of people who are running their shops by themselves, which is what I found myself doing, is like, you're so used to doing the work and you look at, how much something is going to cost you. Like, this employee is going to cost me to bring somebody in. I can't afford to bring them in. I can't afford to pay that amount because I'm going to lose this little bit. But until you actually do it on something, you don't really understand that, like, it's not how much that person is going to cost you. It's like, what can I do more with my time? That shift between cost versus time and what you spend your time doing is, once you make that, I feel like the whole, whatever is next it unlocks. Like, I hear a lot of people.
That's really tough though. That's really tough, because I think the 2 reasons why somebody doesn't add their first employee is, number one, delegation, because they don't want to delegate that work and they feel like that person's not going to do a good of job as you can do it. And so they're scared to put that off on somebody else. And then the second reason is exactly what you just said. It's probably the most popular reason, is that, wait a second, this is going to cost me money, when actually it's going to make you money, make you more money, and make your life even better, because what you just said is you're going to work on different stuff, instead of standing at the heat press for 8 hours a day, you're able to work on your company, market your company, or help customers better. Instead of blowing off a customer or not answering an email for a quote, you can get to that faster. And so initially you think, oh, this is going to cost me. I'm going to take a step back. And that's true because it does cost you at first, but then all of a sudden it opens up lots more opportunities. So those are the two reasons I think people don't do it. And when they do it, they're like, oh my God, just like you did. Like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that before?
Yeah,
that's usually
it's tough though.
So I want to go back to when you decided that you didn't want to screen print and you just go towards more transfers. What was your thought process on that? And like, what did you pick? And like, can you tell us now, like you went with just this kind of vinyl from this place and then you ended up going to, I guess, where you are now with like Supercolor stuff?
The vinyl was just the vinyl business, right? Just local stuff. It doesn't change too much. You pick and choose where you want to go. But I think the transfers for me was the thing because first off, I could teach anybody how to heat press something in like literally like 25, 30 minutes and be comfortable walking away, right? And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you guys would have friends like, oh man, if you're ever struggling for work, like, oh man, I come print. I love to print. I'll do it. No problem. I want to learn. Right. And then that person really doesn't understand the commitment that goes into it. So even if you put a week or two into trying to get them up to speed, they're really not for the print shop. Like it's almost like a specialized individual that will stick around and print and reclaim screens and do those things. So for myself, like I said, I wasn't tied down to a print method. It was more so of like, let me deliver this product. My customer base really doesn't care. And so once I started to experience transfers and, the bulk orders, the customs were one thing. Cutting vinyl and screen print don't even compare, in my opinion, because, the customization options that you have versus the amount of money that you get to make in bulk is two different things. But, hey, when you start now and you're looking at $25 a shirt and you're looking at 4 shirts in an hour, you're looking at like $80 in profit. It seems like a good business, right? It seems like, ain't nobody going to work and making this amount of money if you can do it consistently, right? On the other hand, in screen print, let's just say, you profit $5 and you can do, I've done 100 shirts in an hour, but let's just say you can only do 50 because you're just starting out, you're not comfortable, profiting $5 off of 50 shirts is $250 in that same hour. And then you start to understand there's a shift in like, which would I rather be doing? Working with these people that's giving me headaches, customs and all of that stuff, or doing more bulk orders. But to shift away from screen printing for myself, it was just like the headache, the space, and then trying to find somebody to become a printer, right?
The actual manufacturing.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what gave me the shift. And I'm doing a lot of stuff for like clothing brands and one-offs and producing ideas and being able to not tie up inventory per se when I'm fulfilling this different stuff for people. It became something very, very interesting for me because I had one inventory of shirts, a bunch of designs, and I could just start to fill these orders how I needed them to.
Okay. So how did you get involved with Supercolor?
That was in 2020. So I walked in, actually, somebody tagged, an audience member tagged myself, Brando, and Reyes on the same post. And it's funny because Brando's like 20 minutes from there and Reyes is like 3 hours from there and I'm on the East Coast. So this was my only opportunity. I flew into Long Beach at the time and I was just walking around and I remember 2 places I wanted to go visit. Which was Printer Supply Warehouse over there, because I thought they had like a dope brand. They came out of nowhere with the graffiti and stuff like that. So I just had to go there. And then I DM'd Supercolor again and I said, hey, I'm in town. I don't know where I'm at. I'm walking around with a suitcase, getting on a public bus. And that's how I showed up at the Printer Supply Warehouse. And they were like, hey, man, come through and talk. Let me see. So I'm always a person that has to check out the product. So I went, I checked it out and I was like, wow. This would have been perfect because I think about all of these jobs that I couldn't do at the time, right? Like doing a lot of custom stuff, doing transfers already. And now it's like, well, I didn't really like these 613 transfers. I didn't like what they came out like. I didn't want to go back to the yogurt shop that we printed for. It was one of the videos on my channel, I printed for a yogurt shop. Like they had to reorder and it was the best that I had to offer outside of like doing like it would have probably been like an 8-color, screen print job. So And I walked in, seen the product, I tested it. I'm looking at it. And I'm like, wow, this is a game changer. Is my feeling on, it's like almost literally love at first sight. Seriously. Right. And so that kind of like is what happened from that standpoint. We talked, I made some videos, and, you know, the people on YouTube gravitated towards it. And, you know, it became what it's become.
It's awesome.
When we went to ISS Long Beach, we checked out of our hotel. And we were going to stay longer. We were going to stay. At the time, we thought we were just going to stay like 4 or 5 days. We had gone to the convention, and now we're going to have some fun, right? And so we checked out. We had our suitcases, and before we went to our hotel, our other different hotel, we stopped at a dispensary, but we had our suitcases, and we're like, well, this is kind of going to be weird, but whatever. And so we got out of our Uber, rolled our suitcases into the dispensary. To find out there were like 100 other people doing the same thing. Like, I guess that's a thing. Like, people fly to California because it's legal, and they
just wanted to fill their suitcase with the dispensary items.
You had to close.
Right. No, but like, that's a thing. You know, you can check your bag right there, and then just walk in and get in line. But it just reminded me of that story. That's all.
So what's your YouTube channel like now? Is it still the same format where you're just kind of documenting your days, or do you have plans of like, okay, I want to do a video on this, I want to do a video on this?
I've done like, you know, unboxing of heat presses and different things because people started to ask stuff like that. But my content has totally changed of a sort because I'm not printing day to day, right? Like, even the shop that I'm doing right now, I'm training a girl to do most of the work at this given moment through transfers, and we're trying to perfect the process and different things like that. It's been a challenge all in itself. But my channel is more shifted of a sort to more motivational, more stuff like the journey and different things that I'm struggling with, things that I'm trying to do. I came up against the wall because I do everything. I've done everything up pretty much to myself, minus hiring that girl. And now what I'm trying to do now is to do that all over again, but to have a better system to go through. So what's ended up happening was I'm looking in the face of like, I'm traveling to teach and go meet and go to these conventions and stuff like that. But my local business is dying because I'm not around to fill these orders, right? I'm sending orders to different people. So between that and the pandemic, I kind of didn't print anything almost throughout that whole time. I ended up in the hospital for a good period of time. And so it was like a struggle, right? And I'm looking at this like, hey, do I build this local business, or do I keep traveling and doing some of the things that I'm doing right now? And I decided that
like, what's more fulfilling?
Yeah, I need to do both. Right. And so the only way I can do both is to hire somebody and to build a team and to have somebody in this store to operate on a day-to-day basis when I'm not around, so that I can go focus on some of the other things that I'm trying to do. Right now, I'm trying to have a influencer happy hour at the Long Beach convention this year, you know, one of the nights, and it's not 2 nights. So I got a lot of other things that I want to put my energy into. But I was, even like maybe 2 weeks ago, I got two girls on my team, and I'm just like, I sat them down and was like, listen, if you guys can't make money, if you guys aren't going to commit to what is going on, I'm going to just give the shop away. And I put a hefty amount of change into making this thing look and do what I wanted to do. But really looking at what's in front of me is like, I can't do everything, you know, and I'm so used to doing everything, and I'm maxed out on time. I could probably make some more money, right? I could probably make some deals that are better and do some different things. But ultimately, I can't do anything else with my time. And so, you know, they've been taking initiative since, I think it's been maybe a month. 2 weeks is too short, but maybe a month ago, they've been taking initiative to do some things. So I'm excited about where that's headed now. And it's a huge part of what I do. But my shift now has been more on getting people into the industry, more on educating people, and more on trying to do some of those things to really affect change in people's lives.
That's awesome. So you're the goals man. So what's your new goal now?
Oh man. So my new goal is, first, this event is part one of that goal. This event at Long Beach to service, like, you know, pre-print hustlers, person that is before Shirt Lab, before any of these conventions. I want to service the people getting started, right? I want to service those people at this show, and then even bigger to have a convention. So those two things are things that are possible that I'm working towards. And then the next thing would be to have an actual training facility and have it funded and do some different things in that space.
Now you're trying to do training and all that on different ways and how that you can have that side hustle with t-shirts.
Yep.
And this is the perfect time right now, because like, imagine if you were getting into the industry right now, 2021, and you have Supercolor or things like that, you know, DTF and DTG, because years ago you didn't have that option. I mean, yeah, you had vinyl, and that's kind of how you started. There wasn't Supercolor around when you started. It was vinyl, which provides
vinyl
a good
and
solution.
Supercolor is a big difference.
There's a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, you could have a t-shirt side hustle and produce really like first class quality stuff, you know, and give that to your customer instead of, not that I'm not trying to like shit on vinyl, because that's still good, but it's way different than Supercolor. So
well, it's just like with Supercolor and us, is it was, we contacted them and got like a sample pack about the whole thing. And it was kind of like, we get so many people that are just like, hey, I want to do 20 shirts or I want to do 15 shirts or whatever. And they're like, well, I want to do a clothing line and I want to do this 12 color print. And we're like, dude, there's no way we are printing that. Yeah.
The artwork and the graphic designer has truly changed, and it's all digital stuff, right? It's all 15 colors and
a fade on every color.
Yeah. It's all changed these days. And that's where I really see the benefit to what Supercolor had, right? Because even like myself, I'm a self-taught graphic designer of a sort, but I'm designing everything in one color. And then I'll add, you know, like,
that's the screen printer in you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think even beforehand, like just because I learned graphic design before I even touched t-shirts, but just in the natural sense of like, that was how I learned a logo needed to stand out as a one color, just what I learned, you know, naturally. But it's all changed, and nobody's using any of them old rules and laws and what's going on.
No, because it's so much easier to take a picture and post it on Instagram and put 10 filters on it and then be like, oh, this is what I want on my shirt. Instead of being like, you know, it's way more people doing stuff on their phone than it is people sitting down in Illustrator or Photoshop and actually making like a custom design. They're more just like, oh, I made this thing, it's really cool. Or it's the people who send you the custom ink mock-ups.
Yep.
They're like, hey, I made this design. It's like, no, you didn't. You went on someone else's website and put some clip art together and you sent it to me from their website with their logos all over it.
Yeah.
Those are the people where I feel like it works really well, because you could just be like, all right, cool. Let me clean this up as best I can. I'll make some of these transfers and then we'll just get it done for you. But we've used it in a couple instances where it was just kind of a pain in the ass to attempt to print, or the detail in it was so fine and so weird that we were like, if we were to screen print this, we don't think we could achieve this. Like I had a buddy who his son has cancer and they were making shirts, and he had some like famous artist send them a design of like their son. Like it was all like beautifully shaded, like hand drawn, his son on like a skateboard, and he had like a Superman cape and like all this stuff. And it was like, everything just had like that colored pencil, like shade to it. And I was like, if we screen print this, it's all going to be halftones. Like, yeah, we could probably get it to be really cool, but it's probably going to be like 14 colors, like all this stuff. And we ended up doing a pre-sale, and I think they sold like, I don't know, like 150 to 200 shirts. And we just ordered them all from Supercolor. We were just like, I feel like this would work really, really well for this. And the transfers came in and we heat pressed them all and they came out perfect. Like they looked really, really good. So I think for stuff like that you're just like, you know, you could screen print it, but you also know it's going to be a pain in the ass. It worked out pretty well for that.
Yeah. It's funny because like, you know, Supercolor's position in this thing is become really, really interesting, right? It's almost Supercolor versus everything of a sort, when actually the way that they view themselves is like, hey, just call us when you need us. You know, it's
well,
like,
that's what I'm saying. Is it's the same as why I say we would go to a digital squeegee and screen printing, or why we use postal versus water-based, it's really based on the artwork that the customer sends. Like if we look at it and we're like, what's the best possible method to make this print look cool? That's what our goal is. Like, you know, let's do postal or water-based or digital or something like a transfer.
Yeah, we decided for us, because we can print a lot of colors, but we decided that, and the reason why we're using Supercolor so much more now is that we don't want to print anything over 8 colors ever again. I guess if there's thousands and thousands, it would make sense. But we ordered another press, and it's a 14 color, and it has, so in theory, we could run 8 colors, 3 flashes, 3 cools, makes 14. And so anything over 8, we'll just go Supercolor. Anything that's under 50 quantity, like at a 30 piece or a 40 piece, that's maybe 6 color or more, you know, and it's because we don't burn 6 screens until you hit 50, but anything under 50, we'll just go Supercolor. And then the third reason, or the third time we're going to use Supercolor is like the garment style, you know, like let's say it's a jacket that's a windbreaker, or just a tracksuit or something that
same thing.
Supercolor really works well on, that would be a bitch to screen print, you know? So, I mean, I think that's for a shop with presses and that can print. We also have a vinyl cutter. I mean, we can do vinyl, but Supercolor makes sense. I mean, there's a spot, just like you said, when we need it, you know, not for everything. Because it's interesting when you said, hey, when you guys, like if you were to start over, what would you do? It crossed my mind to say, well, I would just probably buy 10 heat presses, like shuttle presses, and just get all heat transfer vinyl. I mean, like Supercolor, because, you know, it's so hard. What you're saying earlier, it's so hard to train somebody to become a screen printer. It's a skill, and it's a skill that you can't learn in a week or a month. And I would argue it takes a solid year before you are pretty decent. Whereas, you know, heat transfer, you have to, you can train them in a day, you know? And so I would probably do that. And, you know, it would cost so much less. It would take up so much less space. You don't need a giant 30-foot dryer. I mean, it's just, dude, that's probably what I do.
I love screen printing, and I'm going to try to print as much as possible. But I also, like I said, I feel like it has a place. And there was always that customer or that set of customers that needed something that you just were like dreading to print. And now it's an option where you could just do that. Yeah. Transfer option.
You guys are way more further advanced than I ever was, right? Like I've done 4, 5, 6 colors, and I'm like, I'll never do this again. I never wanted to see more than 2 colors just from, you know, my experience and how I learned and the stuff that we did locally here. We never really got into like the huge halftone stuff. We did some halftone stuff, but we never got into those like larger multicolored jobs. And I never wanted to, just because I always felt like the more colors, just the more time it took. And it was just like, I just got lost spinning the wheel, right?
On a manual press, that's true. On a manual press, that's true. Automatic, it doesn't matter.
But when you do automatic, definitely. Yeah.
My thing with the high color count stuff is it's a challenge and it's rewarding. Like for us day to day, like, yeah, it's cool when you get a cool design that's a 1 color and it looks cool. Like I can appreciate that. Like I do appreciate that. And the printers like it because it's quick and easy setup. But the truth of it is when we get stuff in that's just like really rad design and it's like a 14 color print, we like to see it where, okay, say it comes in, it's really cool looking print. A really good artist did it and it's set up correctly for us. It's like a nice high res image and the guy like set it correctly. You know, we can take it, and Brian, the artist, is just like, yeah, this is gonna be a real fun one to make to SEP. You know, we figure out the colors, we figure out how we want to lay it out, where we want to put the flashes, everything else. We get it on press, and you get that first test print, and you're like, dude, this looks amazing. Like, I'm so glad we did this. That is like the high we get like a couple times a week with those kind of jobs. And it's rewarding. Like those are the shirts that you see, because almost every staff member here goes out to the test, like not the test, the the like blank shirt stock and like grabs a shirt and throws it in the order.
Let me go get one. Yeah.
That's when you know it's a good print and they're fucking stoked to be here, is because they went and grabbed a shirt because they're going to own it and take it home. And it's funny, like all the shirts that we see these guys wear and like that are in the print shop, they're all those like high color count, complicated jobs that they feel like they accomplished. You know what I mean? They feel,
it's a different level of respect.
Yeah. Like, they feel like, all right, we did this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're charging for it and you can afford, a lot of times if you have over 8 colors, you're going to have to spin more than once, you know? And so
I feel like I would rather do 12 or 14 color prints all day long than do some of these jobs that are for like fitness people that are like a location here, 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 neck tags, folded bag. I was like, I would rather just do a fucking Gildan tee with a 12 color print on it all day long before I do that other stuff.
I think I'm the opposite, right? Like I only need that feeling once. Like give me some dope stuff to do and let me go through the challenges and figure it out. I only need to have that feeling once because now I know I can do it, right? Like I know I can do it. All I need to prove at the end of the day, I just want to get the things off the press and make the money as fast as possible. And so I kind of like, again, I've only printed auto maybe 3 times. You know, I've never owned one myself or had one in the shop that I was really running. I went places and ran them, like loaded them every sort, right? So I never became like that specialist. But I just would never, like, once I printed a 6 color job one time, it was like, I'd never want to do this again. And, you know, what you was talking about earlier is like, there's so many directions you can go. You figure out what you like and what you don't like. And once I figured out, like, I don't want to do something that's like, I'm doing everything in my power.
Right.
Not to go past a 2-color design, right? And that was just because financially it just made more sense that I could get one colors.
Money wise, it makes a lot of sense. I'm just saying I like it for the fact that this is the career I'm in and it's the challenge and it's the craft. Like I really like the craft of printing. I feel like it's kind of like that, that construction worker or that contractor who has to build a home from scratch. He could just be like, fuck it, let's just do roofs all day long. And every day he goes to work, you know what it is? It's carry panels up the ladder, screw the panels down, carry panels up the ladder, screw panels down. He could look at that and be like, hey, fuck it. It's easy money. Like I could just do the panels all day. But then there's that guy who like looks at an open field and is like, I created this home, like the entire thing.
But for Stan, it sounds like Stan's more of a teacher, you know, because he wants to teach people.
No, I get it. I'm just saying that's a different path. Like it's 2 totally different things. Like he's looking at it as like a business. And an opportunity to make money.
The unique space that I am is that I got so much respect for that, right? Like when I was a photographer and, you know, I went and developed film one time, just once to have the experience, right? And it's funny because my mentor's mentor still has the light box. And he used to lay the letters out and cut them out by hand and do all of this placement and stuff. Like he's been printing way longer than anybody I know, right? But I want him to teach me one day. He's like, man, I just don't got the time right now to do it because, you know, now everything's so fast. But like the respect factor for doing work that you're talking about is at an all-time high. I just don't want to live there, right? Like
I get it. I fully get
the hell out of it, right? Like even when I think about what I do now, is like, if you look at some of the stuff that crafters make, they're like the artists of our industry. Like, how did you have the time to think about that, to do that, to figure it out, and you don't even care? You're not even gonna make no money off of this. It makes no sense to me. But the respect level, like when I see those TikToks and them showing how they did it, and I'm like, man, that is fascinating to watch. But I just don't know how you had the time to do it, right? It's like, I think, you know, you find both places, and I think you got to find a happy medium in whatever it is that you enjoy doing. Because if you weren't doing some of that stuff that you like and you got the respect level for it, you feel like you want to do all the time, if you weren't doing some of that stuff, it wouldn't be a fulfilling job. You'd just be like,
that's exactly it. I mean, we could do the super calculated, you know, let's only take these jobs because they make money. But I would be so fucking bored all day at work. Like I would just be staring at the wall. I'd be like, we're printing shirts, but like I could care less what we're printing and what we're doing all day long. Yep. So to me, it's like, I need that balance of like, yeah, we're making money and we're doing things efficiently, but like, we're also like doing things that we're all like fucking pumped on.
Driving the industry.
So, while we're at that time, do you have any questions for us?
Oh man, I think I want to know.
You kind of asked a couple of them.
Yeah, I want to know what you guys would do, right? Like, so my audience, I tell my audience, man, you start here and you can literally go as far as you want to go, right? Like when I was at Print Hustlers, I sat and talked to my guy from, I think actually Bruce just ran a story on him, but he watched all of these YouTube channels, mine included. 2 years ago, didn't know anything about printing. But now he's, he did pretty much $500,000 in sales this year. And like that growth factor, that you can literally take this as far as you want to go. If you never want to leave your garage, then that's perfectly fine. If you want to get to a shop with 2 autos or 5 autos, you can go that far. But my question to you guys with 2 huge successful shops is what would you do? What would you do? Where would you start? Like if you could have had a cleaner start from where you started at right now, what are like the first 3 things that you would do? What would you implement earlier? Is it the systems? Is it different things like that?
So you're saying if I had a time machine and I could go back to when I very first started, what would I do versus what I did?
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of it for me and the time that we started, we didn't have half of the shit that's out now. Like you're saying, like the super colors or the transfers, stuff like that. When I first started, it was like the band world of like, you were saying like 1 or 2 color oversized prints on the front of a shirt. And you just, you're selling it all day long. So I feel like if I had to do anything differently, I would probably save a little bit more money and buy better equipment than what I first started with.
Put yourself in right now. You start from scratch right now.
Now.
Let's make it a little easier.
If I was starting right now and I had no money and I was just trying to get into the business, I think I would do kind of like what I did when I started the button company, was buy something I could afford and at least get started. So when I started the button company, what I did is I just took a couple $100 that I had off of a paycheck, and I bought the button press and I bought 1,000 parts. I didn't have the printer. I didn't have like any laminators or anything. I just could get something and get going. So then I went to fucking Kinko's like every other day to get the buttons made there, like get the sheets made, because I didn't have a printer yet. So I feel like what I would do now, if I was just getting into this industry, is save my money and get a good heat press, not a eBay heat press, not a fucking cheap piece of shit that doesn't heat well. I would probably go to like something like a Stalls or something and get their Fusion, the Fusion. And then I would probably just start marketing toward people that I could buy supercolor transfers for, like, honestly. Or if it was, I feel like if it was going to be like a 1 or a 2 color transfer or something like that, I'd probably do like a Transfer Express screen print transfer. And then what I would do though, like I said, is I don't want to do that as my constant. I want to use that as a tool. So I feel like what I would do is I would just do that until I had enough money to afford the next piece of equipment. So I would be like, all right, cool. Well, I got enough money saved up. I'm going to go buy a 6 color Riley Hopkins or something. And then the next thing you would do is you would buy a flash, and then you would get enough money and you would buy a small dryer. And then I would probably just grow that way. When I first started back then, the only thing I knew was screen printing. So the first thing I did is I bought a silver press and I bought a used dryer, and we just went right to screen printing. And it was like, all right, we're doing nothing but 4 color and under prints, which didn't matter in the band world because that's what most of them were.
Yep.
So we just did the same thing. I bought what I had with the money I had. And then every year or whatever, we bought more and more equipment as we could afford it.
I think that's perfect, because you always got to start where you are, what you have, what you got. What can I
feel like the problem here though, is that some people get the mentality of the fact that like credit's available.
Yeah.
But they don't deserve it yet. You know what I mean? Like there's people who deserve like credit because they worked hard for it, but there's other people who are just like, fuck it. Like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And they go get like $100,000 in debt, and they don't start off roughing it at all. They're like, okay, cool. I'm going to go buy, never screen printed before. Let me go buy an 8 color auto and a big dryer and everything they need to start a screen printing shop you shouldn't have for at least like 5 years.
5 years. Yeah. No, I would agree. So Andy, I'm gonna ask you the same question in different structure. What would you have implemented in your like looking at where your shop is now, is there anything that you could, say, hey, if I would have did this earlier, I would have got here a lot faster?
I always say CTS, but that's a boring answer. I was going to say, if I started over today or tomorrow, let's say, that I've already done the custom screen printing thing. And so for me, that would be boring to do that again. And the riches are in the niches. So I would go and I wouldn't have a front door. You like that, Dylan? I creep Dylan out like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times an episode. That's probably one of them. But I would not have a front door. I would not have a phone, and I would pick the clients that I want to print for, and that is it. And so there would be completely different business model, because now we have such a support team for a custom screen printing shop. I mean, there's a lot of people that have to support that. Right now, yeah, we're too deep. We're a custom shop, and we can shift. And we've already started that by upping our minimums and shifting over to who we're working for and doing less contract work. But I mean, I really like that idea because I do like the craft of screen printing, and I think it would be really rad to have, selective clients and just print that, and that's it. That trust in us and the way we in our skills, like our knowledge, like to trust in us to print their merch. That's what I would do. As far as implementing stuff, I think that starting over, I would have an SOP for everything.
Yeah.
I would find the time for SOPs so that when I do train people, when people do come here, they not only have their 2-week itinerary of here's what we're going to do for the first 2 weeks and here's what we're going to work on, and this is our goal at the end of the 2 weeks. But I would have that, which I did create for like our customer service team, but I don't have that for every single team. And so we once upon a time had binders for every spot, like a press assistant and a designer and so on. So they had their binders that they had to learn in order to, and we would set a time. We would set like a 60-day or a 90-day training period where they're hired in at this compensation and they get an increase in compensation if they get certified. And so, they knew that they had a goal to hit after a certain amount of time, and they were motivated by extra compensation. And so I think that, I didn't do that originally. That was like at year 8, let's say, you know what I mean? And so I think if you had that sort of stuff early on, where you have real training and SOPs for everything, I think it would have made my life so much easier every time we added a person.
I think that's interesting because I think a lot of people could use that information of a sort, right? Like I'm sitting down writing SOPs right now as I'm just like, even the simplest thing, like, all right, here's how you cut mine. Here's how you do all of this stuff. And we're writing them as I train this girl because I don't want to be back in the same situation when somebody else comes in. It's super interesting that it's funny because when you have no formal business training and then you start, I'm pretty sure you guys have a conversation with people who got bigger shops and they start talking about stuff and you're like, man, I'm right there right now, right? Like I'm doing these things right now. And then you see the parallels in your journey and so many other people's journey that, it's just sometimes like a pat on the back of like, all right, I might be doing the right thing in this specific instance of a sort.
I think one other thing I would do is I would get some kind of consulting or someone in earlier to like get bad habits out earlier on. You know what I mean? I feel like you get to a certain point, like you said, you're self-taught. Most shops are all self-taught, or the owner thinks he knows everything there is to know. And then he kind of like floods that into everyone else. I feel like maybe like year 5, when we were starting to get like kind of consistent, I probably should have had someone in like a Ryan or somebody and just been like, hey, show me what you know and tell me what I'm doing wrong. And then build off of that instead of being, 10, 12 years deep and then find out you've done some stuff horribly wrong for 10 years.
Yeah. But at that time, you think to yourself, oh man, that's going to cost me $10,000 to bring somebody in here. I don't have $10,000.
Right. But that's the thing though, too, is
that's
that
the thing.
spending that money is going to save you a ton of money too, and make you a lot more money. So that's what I'm saying. It's one of those things again, where I feel like you can't fucking tell somebody that unless they're going to be like, I believe everything you say, because they won't. They're going to be like, yeah, but that was you. And this is me. And it's going to be different for me. And it never is. It's
all we can do is show them the way, and that they decide they're not right. Like, but again, that goes back to that mindset shift that I'm talking about. And that's what, like, when I say my content has changed of a sort, it's more so like thinking of like these little lessons and different things, man. It would help somebody out like greatly if they took you the information. All we can do is deliver them that information, right? And like once you have that shift in your mind, it may just start with that employee of like me sitting outside and not doing nothing and making a couple dollars and like, man, I should have did this a long time ago. But then once you have one of those epiphanies, right, everything else will start to make sense. So now if I'm on my platform and I'm saying, listen, guys, you know, change your mind. Stop thinking about how much something is going to cost you and start thinking about how you're going to make more money because of it. And then you come along and you like, man, I would have hired somebody to come take a look at my shop and all of the stuff that I'm doing, who's been way more successful than I am, you know, ahead of me, but can help me get to where I want to go. I would have brought them in at year 5. So now maybe, just maybe, they hear from me, they hear from you, they hear a couple of times. They're like, you know, hey, I'm at year 4, year 5. Why not go ahead and take a look, and let's bring this consultant in to take a look at what we're doing. And I think, you know, this is the stuff that I like about this community, is where it's like everybody's experience. And I can tell that you guys are still learning and still, you know, going through some different things, but anybody willing to share a piece of their journey to help somebody else go along the way, you know, it only takes one, man. If I go back to why I started my YouTube channel, I just hope that every video that I put out helped one person. And here I am, 90,000 something people later in subscriber counts. But, you know, it's just been that journey. And once you get a message saying, you know, hey, man, I watched that podcast with, you know, Stan and you guys and Shirt Show, and I watched it and I heard them say I needed to bring a consultant. You know what? I bought a consultant in that next week. And this is literally the stuff that happens. You know, I go out and collaborate stuff.
We get that quite a bit. We get stuff in our DMs or whatever. And I was like, oh, I've listened to every episode, or I listened to this episode. And, you know, I realized that you could order this thing or do this thing, and it's like changed the way we do stuff. And I'm just like, fuck yeah. Like, to me, it's, you know what I mean? It's like, to me, I'm just bullshitting with Andy and you right now. Like, I'm just sitting here talking shop, dicking around, when someone else is like actually listening, being like, holy shit, that makes a lot of sense. And I didn't think of it that way. And then it actually changes like the way they do business or the way they operate. It fucking blows my mind.
Yeah, man. I think, you know, that's what I'm after, man. I'm after that impact. You know, if I had to sum up myself and what I'm trying to do right now is just to impact people's lives. And, you know, that comes through, you know, exactly what you're talking about, you know, sitting on live, having conversations, and, you know, you guys invite me on your platform to hear my perspective. And hopefully one day you guys, you know, maybe at Long Beach, we get to sit down in the room and I get to bring you guys on my platform, and we get to share some of your story. And we never know who is going to help, you know. Yeah. So this thing for me has become way bigger than T-shirts, just because of those messages. You know, those messages keep me going. Those messages when
people's lives, man.
Away. Yep.
Cheers to that.
Mm-hmm. All right, quick takes, Andy.
Before we got to quick takes, I wanted to see if he could give us one shop hack, one super color shop hack.
One super color shop hack. Super color is so great, man. I would say
that's all he says.
I would say, you know, look at how you can add it for things that you normally would say no to, right? Like some of the things that I see people do and seen it used for is the bags and different like car hearts and stuff like that have been very, very challenging to decorate. And that's some of the stuff that I hope to show more of coming up. But like, you know, if you don't have an embroidery, you know, it's set up in your shop, you got a small shop, you're outsourcing, that's a nice way. If you got an embroidery shop with no screen print or different things like that, that's a nice way to implement it into your shop. And, you know, that's kind of it.
That's good. Oh, that's perfect. Andy, did you set this up? So you go first? Is that what he says, Andy?
That's why. Yep, exactly.
Holy shit. You did your research beforehand?
I know. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
So Stan, what's one thing you need every morning?
My phone.
That sounds like Dylan.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I know it's horrible. And I think it's funny. Every time I get those like weekly reports now or whatever from like my phone, it's like, oh, your screen time was 10 hours today or whatever. It's just like, oh God, you're telling me I looked at my phone for 10 hours today?
For me, when I wake up, I play a game. I'm super competitive. So I play this one game. I'm trying to catch up to my girlfriend. She's at like level 700. We both got there, but they kicked me off her phone. So I play this game every morning, but it's more like competitive to get my juices flowing of a sort. I hate losing. So
2 dots?
Huh?
Is it 2 dots?
No, I don't even play. I honestly don't even know the name of it. And it's on that. It will be on the phone that you guys are on right now. Some jewel game or something like that. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's just like that habit of like as soon as I wake up and open my eyes, I like roll over, check my phone, see what the weather is, see what the time is. I check Instagram because I have DMs usually, or then I'll check Facebook and it'll tell me like whose birthday it is today or whatever. And then I'll text that person and say happy birthday. Yuck. It's just like,
I'm not doing all that.
That's my first thing as soon as I wake up in the morning. All right, next question. What show are you currently watching?
BMF.
What is that?
It's a gangster movie. It's the Black Mafia. It's like yeah.
Is it a show or a movie?
It's the show. On Hulu. It's like a 50 Cent show.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
About Big Meech.
I think my dad told me to watch that. He watches a ton of stuff.
I do too.
Andy?
All right. Next question is beach trip or mountain trip?
Take me to the beach all day long.
Now, do you go in the water or you just want to lay on the beach?
I go in the water. I go out. I can swim pretty good. I would like to learn how to surf, but I don't. But, my family sits on the beach. I go out in the water.
I just can't do the water.
Do they have beaches? Do they have beaches in Delaware?
Yeah, about 2 hours south.
That's not too far.
Not at all.
Yeah, I just don't like going in the water.
Got to,
yeah,
man.
We know, Dylan. We know. The sharks.
It's terrifying. What advice would you give your younger self?
Just keep going, man. Just keep going. I think I've been very, very fortunate that I never ever put my head down. I never felt sorry for myself, no matter, what I went through. And, my mom would tell you that you don't do anything good enough or long enough to be great at it. Right. And I just say, nah, Mom, I just figured out what wasn't for me. Right. And
I like how you messed up and you said my mom would tell me I'm never good enough.
Yeah, I would never do anything long enough to be good at it. But, I always would try stuff. I was never afraid to try something different. Mm-hmm. For me, it was photography. Actually, computer repair, web design, graphic design, photography, then T-shirts. So here I'm on. I had like a lot of little things that I did in between there, but these are all serious things that I tried to have businesses at. I never failed at one of them. They all made me money, but I just wasn't, something throughout that journey kind of was like, yo, yeah, this ain't it no more. It might have been like 2 options and which one's making me more money. Or it could have just been like the market was changing. Like when I got into web design, it was right before all of these, pop-up websites, Wix, and all of these things came about. And it was like, well, this is over. Websites are cheap.
And along the way, each business, taught you something. There were lessons with each one. And so here you are now. And
that's the scary part.
What's your go-to snack?
Go-to snack? Man, right now it's a Red Bull. And I don't even know if that counts as a snack. It's the truth. It's like
I think it does. Yeah. There's somebody here that has a Red Bull, like 4 of them a day.
Dude, Red Bulls are all those energy drinks are disgusting.
When you need the energy,
drink them. I don't drink them either, but
around 1 o'clock.
Justin, who used to work here, would bring in cases. Like he would probably drink, I feel like, a half a case or a whole case a day of those white Red Bulls. I think they're sugar-free ones.
Yeah.
Which, like, dude, that's so fucking gross. Like, you're just drinking that. I can't do it. Like, there's some times where I like force myself to have one, or have like the Mountain Dew version. They have like an energy drink or whatever, because I want it to taste more like Mountain Dew and not like fucking liquid Smarties, which is exactly what a Red Bull tastes like to me. It's just like the carbonation and the intensity of like how strong it is. It's just like, oh, like it's so like I have to force it down. I have to like do that thing where I have to like rub my neck to like get it down.
Do you have a go-to food snack?
I go through a lot of like smart food, popcorn, white cheddar. I get going.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting a bag of everything. I'm getting like pistachios is probably like my favorite thing to eat. That's like not like I'm just eating it throughout the day. Some pistachios can go, I can go through a nice little handful.
That gets expensive.
Them things are expensive. I try to buy like the $1 little tubes, like 2 or 3 of them, the little ones, but they're expensive, man.
It's funny because Chris has a story of when he went to Syracuse for his master's. He lived in a van. Like he lived in the van in the parking lot of school. And he said he always remembered like these like kids who their parents paid for their school, and they would always complain about money or whatever. But he had one where this person was complaining about how they didn't have any money, but they were eating like a whole bag of pistachios. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're eating like $100 bag of pistachios right now. Like I live in a van in the parking lot.
Some people's problems are different, man. And it's funny when you have somebody who's going through something like that, or experiencing these different processes or different positions in life, man. You can really see like somebody who's humble and like what they would do versus what somebody, the things that I've done or the process, the things that I went throughout this journey is like, man, I wish I had. So like, I wish I would have started like that. Like, I wish I would have been able to do some of those things, but ultimately,
it wouldn't make you who you are.
The character that you have and the appreciation that you have is a lot different, and I'm happy for my humble beginnings of a sort, because, maybe I wouldn't respect what you guys are capable of doing and different things like that, or, look at a crafter and be like, wow, that's some real talent, because, everything was like laid out in front of me.
That's what's terrifying about being a dad is like, I kind of had some rough stuff when I was a kid, and I feel like that's what got me to where I am. It got me my drive to do what I wanted to do. But my kids have it so fucking cush right now.
Yeah, but we talked about that, and you
like Disney every year and shit.
No, that's over. That's okay when they're young.
We're booking it right now. I don't know why I'm kidding.
Don't do it, because adversity.
My daughter looks at me and goes, "Dad, are we going to Disney?"
Oh,
and then I just fold. I fold.
The girls is over. The girls is over. I say you hug the girls and kick the boys, right? Like I try to give them some tough lessons of a sort, and the world and the shift and the way they look at money and stuff is completely different. I would go shovel snow from day to night, and call my mom to pick me up.
My son would never do that in a million years.
Never. They ain't even think, they not even going to shovel their mom's car.
He's like, wait, can I shovel in a video game? Like can I get that shovel simulator?
My boy wasn't going to be soft. And so I made it. I like that saying, kick the boys, and maybe even the girls too, because I really think that
I feel like they all need a kick
at that young age. People are too soft now. And so if you want to be successful, and not just be an entrepreneur, I mean, just be successful in life, it needs to be a struggle. And because the real world doesn't care, the real world doesn't spoil you. And so you got to prepare them. And so I always did that. Do you prefer a night in or a night out? I stole your question.
You dick.
Night out. I think, I spend so many nights in now. I want to go out a little bit, catch a plane somewhere and sit on the beach, honestly. So my night out is like a week out, like anywhere I'm trying to get far away from here.
I feel like that's the same thing I'm doing right now, is like I look forward to the 3 to 4 day trips, not necessarily like the Friday night out or whatever. So yeah, I'm in the same boat. Andy, does that mean I'm doing your final question?
It is. Yeah, we switched it up. Yeah, we switched it up.
Shit, I feel weird. I feel like I'm violating you. Well, what's for dinner?
What's for dinner? Some chicken dumplings, some pepper steak. Literally looking at it, ready to get some right.
It's been teasing him this entire time. Well, we really appreciate you coming on, dude. This was nice alternative to what we're normally just talking about printing stuff. It was a lot of, what are you passionate about and how do you want to get there to talk? So thanks for coming on and doing this with us.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
I learned a little bit about super color, and you've been super inspirational. No, he didn't like that earlier either, but I had to say it again. I had to get it in there one more time.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is super works with, you can literally say super anything and it works.
Yeah.
I don't even say super no more. It's just like, that was super easy. I'm talking about something completely different. It's like,
see, Dylan, I knew it. I was onto something there.
Okay.
All right, man.
See you, dude.
See you guys.